council meeting on 10 July 2024 at 6 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Would you please all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Thank you. Alice, can we have a roll call, please?
Councillor Beck. Councillor Newton.
Present.
Councillor Kopczynski.
Here.
Councillor Montague.
Here.
Councillor Smith.
Here.
Councillor McGee.
Present.
Mayor Johnson II.
Here. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks, Councilor, for being here this evening. Matilda Novak has excused absence. I will now turn over the floor to our Chief of Police, Marsha Harden.
So good evening, Mayor and Council. Wanted to take a few seconds to introduce our new captain, Buck Pierce. For those of you who know Brad Lyles for many, many years, Brad is on his 30-day slide out into retirement, and in his replacement, Buck Pierce is the next captain. He'll actually take over all of our operations section, which is our patrol, and that Jerry Drum, who you've met, will move over into Brad's former position on the staff support side. So you'll see Buck here as well as Jerry and myself for the Sergeant at Arms duties. So I just want to introduce him, congratulate him in public, and you can find him for the rest of the meeting if needed, because I'm going to go home. So.
Congratulations, Captain. What, no speech? Thank you very much, and nice to meet you, Captain, and well, congratulations again. Yeah, Buck Pierce. Special presentations next. The presentation of the Cumberland Church National Register of Historic Places. Alyssa Schrems, is that spell it right? Is that right? Thank you.
All right, good evening. So I'm Alyssa Schrems. I'm with the City of Albany Planning Department. I serve as the Historic Preservation Planner. And today we're just gonna have a really short presentation to congratulate the folks with the Cumberland Church. They were recently listed on the National Register of Historic Places, which is a huge undertaking. They actually did all of their own research in-house, so they put in a lot of effort for that. And so we wanted to kind of do a presentation for them, just in congratulations for all the hard work they've put in on this structure. So they've got a short presentation for you guys that I'll run for you. Get that up, if you guys want to come on up. Just bear with me.
There was another chair that was up there earlier.
Yep, just getting it up and running. If you guys wanted to stand, we can do that over there.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Rapp, one of the Cumberland Presbyterian Church longtime advocates. We've come a long way since we started. Many years ago, it was listed in 2019 as an endangered site by Restore Oregon. And
possibly move the microphone a little closer.
okay, sorry. And in June this year, we were finally listed on the National Historic Register. I just want to tell you a little bit about the church in case you're not aware of it. There were many naysayers who said there was nothing significant about the church. And the reality is there are some very significant things about the church. I began researching it through the Historic Homes Tour in summer of 2018. I spent 5.5 years looking into it. And we were accepted for design and construction criteria, which is very interesting when you know the history of the church. There are, however, 7 criteria considerations that eliminate a structure from the National Historic Register consideration. Unfortunately, the Cumberland met 2 of those considerations. One, it was a religious facility, and there's way too many religious facilities, I guess, on the National Historic Register. And the other was that the property had been moved. What I found in my research was that the Queen Anne style religious facility is extremely rare, especially in the state of Oregon. Less than 4% of Oregon's churches are Queen Anne style. And after analyzing other Queen Anne churches in Oregon, I found it was the most elaborate. The other was the building relocation, and we were able to have the church moved down the same, put it on the same street, in the same neighborhood, and paid special attention to having it in the same basic orientation that the first church, the church had originally been. One other quick note that you'll see in the bottom of the presentation, there's a little bit of a sketch of the way historic churches could have been moved or were moved. This sketch is from a church in New Hampshire, but the Cumberland is one of the few churches in Oregon that was moved by what's called bisection, separation, cutting the church in the middle, separating the ends with horses or oxen, rolling the church on logs, and building in the middle. So those 3 items are part of what's so fascinating about this structure and why we're now on the National Historic Register.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joel Lorton, the Vice President of the Cumberland Community Events Center, and I'll just give you a quick update on some of the current activities. I think we were here last in October to give you an update. At that time, we'd done a lot of the exterior work, preserving it from further deterioration. Now, probably our most visible activity are the windows. We're in the process of restoring those windows. We're almost halfway through. I think we've got 7 of the 21 underway or replaced, and we've got a sponsorship program now. We're soliciting funds, getting sponsors for the remaining windows, and we're pretty successful with that so far. So that's a big milestone for us, getting those windows restored. Next slide is this. You don't see so much unless you've been in the building. We've done a lot of demolition work inside, removing interior partitions, opening up the exterior walls by removing the lath and plaster to really understand what's there. And we've had a tremendous amount of volunteer support today. That's something volunteers can do. It's pretty straightforward. We've had over 350 hours of volunteer labor to accomplish that. And then the final slide for me is, as we opened up the walls, we discovered some surprises, if you will. There was some structural reinforcement that was required. So we got a structural engineer in who provided design work to primarily reinforce the tall north and south exterior walls. Over the years, they had added ceilings, and intentional or not, that was providing lateral stability to those tall walls. So when we removed them, the engineer got a little concerned. So we've got that work underway right now. Now I'll turn it over to Emma.
Good evening. My name is Emma Eaton. I'm the president of the CCEC. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for recognizing our wonderful accomplishment. I would like to talk about our involvement in the community. There are many facets and moving parts of what we do. Mine is mostly about the community at this point. We continue to develop community connections by partnering with nonprofits and businesses and within the neighborhood. We have been hosting events for children and families as well. On your right, you see the 2024 Impact Report. You will receive that as a handout, as it is very difficult to read at this point. Included also, our next step is design of the interior of the building. We hope to use Veritone for that process because they were involved in the initial part, and they certainly have all the qualifications to do what we need to have done. Another goal is to obtain a certificate of occupancy as soon as possible. Secretly, it's by the end of 2025. We have sent out proposals to other design companies, firms last week, and Veritone was selected as far as we're concerned, but that's still a conversation. We have events coming up, and I'd like to remind you that in September, we have an event at Spring Hill, and it's a beautiful place, a beautiful view, and we invite every one of you. I think I'll just send you a second invite in case you forget later in the year. But it's Thursday, September 5th in the evening, and you get to see the sunset, and then you can see Mary's Peak in the distance. And the people at Spring Cellars are very kind and generous, and they sponsored us now for 4 years. That's another partnership. Partnership, partnership, partnership. We really value that very much. Thank you so much again for recognizing our achievement.
Do you have comments you'd like to make?
I just am so excited to see all the progress you guys have made. I'm a huge fan and love seeing all the work that's been done. I know I have a historic home myself. I know it's not an easy feat. So 10 stars to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marilyn?
Yeah, I just got to say, I never thought this would happen. I thought bad things were going to happen because it looked like it was going that way more than once. And this is so encouraging. Every time I drive by there, I don't usually come downtown that way, but I make a point of driving by there now because I just like to see what's happening and seeing forward movement. And I'm really proud of everything that you've done. It's been a boost to the neighborhood. Well worth saving. I grew up in a historic house myself, and it's gone now. So I really appreciate that.
Counselor Kopczynski?
I concur with everything that's been said so far.
And I would just like to say that when I made the motion to sell to you for $1, this is the kind of thing I envisioned, and I think you guys are the best team to do this, and I thank you for all your work. And it's a pleasure meeting you and getting the history at that event, because I went by, there was boiling hot outside, but you shared the history with me, and I really appreciate that. So keep up the good work. It's well done.
Thank you.
Next on tonight's agenda is a public hearing. Public hearing adoption of the Water Master Plan, direction on how to testify and submit written materials to be published on the current council agenda. I declare the public hearing open at 6:13 p.m. Does the staff have a report?
Hello. So my name is Ryan Beath. I'm an engineer here at the city. And we are here today to recommend council adopt the 2024 Water Master Plan. This new Water Master Plan is an updated evaluation of the city's water system infrastructure and its needs. It was presented to City Council on May 6th, 2024, work session, and the Oregon Health Authority reviewed and concurred with the plan in May. Today is also an opportunity to provide some clarification on a few things with the master plan. This Water Master Plan is one tool that is used for planning and budgeting the future of the water system. While a large part of the master plan process is detailed engineering analysis, much of it is based on forecasting, projecting, extrapolating factors of safety and redundancy. Like any tool, it takes some skill to use as it was intended, and we must be mindful in our approach and how we read and interpret the recommendations. Projects in the master plan are identified and recommended for various reasons. One key driver of choosing projects is if a piece of the system, a pipe or a pump or a tank, is identified as being deficient. How deficiency is defined varies on what function that piece of infrastructure provides. In the case of, say, the North Albany pump station, we have 3 criteria that put that project near the front of the list to address: a condition assessment, a seismic assessment, and firm capacity. That third measure, firm capacity, is a level of service for pump stations that requires that a pump station capacity must be greater than the maximum day demand with the largest pump out of service. In the case of the North Albany Pump Station, with both pumps the same size, firm capacity is half the actual pumping capacity of the station. The narrative of the master plan states the North Albany Pump Station is at capacity and will need to be replaced very soon. This statement is speaking from the perspective of the level of service, which is for a condition that typically occurs only a few days of the year and only factors in one of the pumps running. So we are in fact in a transitional time, period of time where improvements are needed in the near term to maintain the high level of redundancy for a perfectly designed municipal water system. This is not saying we are running out of water or that there is no capacity for development. In response to concerns associated with the North Albany Pump Station, revisions have been made to the report to more accurately reflect current system performance. In the master plan you saw 2 months ago, the North Albany Pump Station capacity was a slightly dated pump station capacity carried over from a previous document that was less than the actual observed capacity of the pump station, which was increased around 2020 with the installation of modified pump impellers. The change in the master plan to reflect the actual observed capacity resulted in an adjustment to the timing of improvements to both the Albany and Gibson Hill pump stations. The North Albany Pump Station still triggers the same 3 levels of service criteria that originally put it on the near-term replacement schedule. And it's still being proposed as a near-term project for those same 3 reasons. And so the revised dates are as follows. So originally the North Albany Pump Station was scheduled to be replaced in 2025, and that date now moves out to 2028. The Gibson Hill Pump Station improvement date moves out from about 2033. It actually moves up to 3 years to 2030. These again are forecasted dates based on forecasted demands and are obviously subject to adjustment over time. So in closing, we want to thank Council for the attention to and support for the adoption of the Water Master Plan. And we provide reassurance to you now that water demands will continue to be tracked to assure improvements are made in a timely manner. This plan has laid out a lot. Upon adoption, we can fully commit and begin the process of folding these recommendations into the capital improvement program, ideally starting with the Vine Street Facilities Viability Study, which in turn will better inform the needed comprehensive water system financial plan update, and so on. So with that, staff recommends council approve the adoption of the 2024 Water Master Plan.
Thank you. Written materials were submitted by the deadline. Were there any written materials? I didn't see any in my email for the Water Master Plan, so no written materials. I will now call upon those registered to speak. No one's registered to speak. I declare would anybody in chambers like to speak on this matter? Thank you. I will now call upon those registered to speak. Nope. I declare the public hearing closed at 6:18 p.m. Council, do you have any discussion? Any questions? Yes.
I have 2. One is kind of a procedural, so I'll just get that out of the way. Well, not procedural. So in the meeting minutes, or I guess our agenda, the link is not clickable, and when you copy and paste it, the hyperlink breaks.
For the what? For the
So it's an easy fix, but I'm just thinking for accessibility for folks when the minutes are approved, to just make sure that those links work. And then my second question was actually about the Vine Street water treatment center. Yes. Can it be expanded, the capacity, or no?
Vine Street?
Yeah, well, once there's a study, but is it potential, like if the study comes through, is it like a close it, or is it a?
Well, so I think it's a viability study, a site viability study, and it factors in pretty much everything on the block. But part of the reason to do this study is that we haven't really identified all the alternatives. So it's maybe it could be expanded. I don't know. It's too early to say. That's why it's a project to figure out what to do.
Okay.
I think that's the simplest way to put it. I mean, everybody's got ideas, but it's a process to go through and work through those and vet them all out and figure out what's best and go through that.
So going on that, so I understand that the current Vine Street capacity is 20 million gallons a day, correct?
20 published.
Yeah.
I think it's 16. But yes,
It's 20 million capacity, but 16 is actually what's happening now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Counselors? Councilman Smith?
Just a comment. Thank you for the clarification of the facilities in North Albany. And I don't think I mentioned this before, thank the staff, the water staff, for the tour that they gave us last month. It was very educational. And now I know why water costs so much. It's complicated.
Yes.
And I really appreciated that. You think you know everything about how things work when you work here for a long time, but I didn't work in the water plants. So I learned a lot. And I really appreciate the information that I can share with other people.
Councilor Montague? Councilor Kopczynski?
I move we,
Let me call on Councilor McGee first. Do you have any questions, Councilor McGee?
I don't, thank you.
All right, Councilor Kopczynski?
I move the council adopts the 2024 Water Master Plan.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Beeth.
Thank you.
Next on tonight's agenda is business from the public. First one is here. Okay, first up is Rosa Placencia and Christian Galvez. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Rosa Placencia, and I have lived in Albany since 1998. I'm here this evening on behalf of the Lim Benton Hispanic Advisory Committee, well known as HAC. For the past 30 years, HAC has provided networking, information, and advocacy for the Latinx community. It has also been the main sponsor of Festival Latino, which has welcomed the whole community to a shared celebration of our cultural heritage in the beautiful Mounted Park. We know the city means for river rhythms to bring the same joyful celebration for Mounted Park, and that you did not intended for last Thursday's performer to end that joy with his hateful language about people who were not born in this country. We don't come here tonight to blame anyone. We come here to offer our partnership going forward, to be sure that all our families can freely and safely enjoy our beautiful Albany parks. I remember almost 30 years ago when a community member proposed creating a Hispanic friendship park, Lady Nelly Leaño, and how the negative response led eventually to the creation of the Human Relations Commission. We believe that we have made progress since that time, but last Thursdays remind us that we are not there yet. In order to ensure that all our community feels welcome and to prevent that occurred last Thursday from happening again, tonight we propose that the city takes a meaningful and sustainable action to mitigate this for potentially future instances. The city of Albany has an opportunity to align its values as shown in the city's website with actions of integrity, modeling leadership, and quality services by committing here today to develop procedures and standards for a code of conduct and penalties for community events, agreements, and contracts, including but not limited to those with music and other performers. As a community partner, HAC makes this formal request to ensure everyone in our community feels safe, valued, and welcome. We hope that the city makes a direct contact with that performer and let him know that his comments of hate were not welcome in our city. We look forward to collaborating with you in that effort to accomplish these standards and guidelines.
Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you.
I get 3 minutes too?
No?
No, okay.
3 minutes.
No problem, it's okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next on tonight's agenda is Miriam Cummings. Miriam? Next on tonight's Business from the Public is John Robinson. Good morning, good afternoon, sir.
Mayor, Council, I'm John Robinson. I reside at 2500 Del Rio Court Southeast. I came tonight, I'd like to address the lack of maintenance of the city landscaping on Waverly from Pacific to the Mennonite Village. I live by Deerfield Park, so I drive the stretch of Waverly daily. In the past, this area was very well maintained. Recently, however, it's been neglected. The grass on the side of the road is still being mowed, but the edging or weed whipping of the grass next to the fences has not been happening. This results in grass that is several feet tall. In addition, the landscaping in the medians has been largely ignored. Weeds are everywhere and taller and thicker than the landscape vegetation. In fact, around 14th Street, between the old library and Sportsman's Warehouse, there are weeds 3 feet tall growing out of the concrete median. Somebody last week placed a garland around one of the weeds to draw attention to this neglect, and it made the weed look like a small Christmas tree. While it was funny at the time, this neglect of Waverly is not good for the citizens or the city's image.
Great.
There's been a lot of ugly talk lately around housing density in North Albany and people blaming the city. As a general contractor and an Albany citizen, I'm a supporter of planned development and housing growth in our city. As we grow, however, I don't want to see us overlook our current responsibilities to maintain our current landscape along the roads. Can we please do something to improve the maintenance of the landscape along Waverly? One last request. Over the last month, there have been people soliciting money donations at Waverly and Pacific with poster boards of pictures of sick children. There are other methods to raise money using social media where traffic is not impaired and drivers are not distracted. While I sympathize, I'm also suspect that it may be a scam. There's a sign in the median referencing Albany Municipal Code 13.23.010 that prohibits the transfer of money from a car to a pedestrian. I recently called Albany Police Department to report the illegal activity I was seeing. The dispatcher informed me that the person in the car giving the money could be cited. This didn't sound right to me, but upon reading the municipal code, the dispatcher was correct. The driver can be fined $75 along with the pedestrian receiving the money. It seems like we should be focusing on eliminating the people soliciting the money. Drivers can be confused because they're used to seeing the fire department collect money during the annual, quote, fill the boot events that we've seen. There's an exception in the code for this. They call it a pedestrian activity when the proper permit is obtained in advance of the event. So I'm sure that other drivers are not aware of this, as I was not aware. Regardless, fining drivers hardly seems like the correct way to solve this problem. Can we please look at a better solution so our streets are not constantly filled with people running about trying to solicit money? There's also been an increase in street vendors on these corners selling from the intersections, and I believe this activity needs regulation.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So are we capturing the notes? Thank you. Next up is Susan Leonard. And you don't have to give your address. I forgot to mention that to Mr. Robinson. There's no address required. It's a safety thing.
Good evening. My name is Susan Leonard. Before I read my statement, I just wanted to say on a personal note that I was so impressed with how beautiful Monteith Park is with all the changes and everything that's been done. It's lovely. But tonight, I am speaking on behalf of the Lynn Benton branch of the NAACP. Our mission is to ensure the rights of all persons and to eliminate racial hatred and discrimination. We work actively in our community to these ends. We know that the City of Albany intends for their summer concerts at Monteith Park to be safe and fun events for everyone in the community to enjoy. So we were dismayed to hear the hateful statement about immigrants made by Lee Greenwood at the July 4th River Rhythms concert. We recognize that Greenwood's statement does not represent the views of the city, but feel that a public apology from the city to the community would be appropriate. We want to work together with you to continue to make Albany a thriving, safe community where all feel welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Next on tonight's agenda, Lisa Grotto, Downtown Association Executive Director. Huh? Go ahead, Lisa.
Good evening. I'm just here to do a quick downtown update. The first thing that's top of mind is tomorrow starts our Crazy Days. This is the 126th annual event. So it's been going on for a very long time. Started out as Bargain Days and got renamed after World War II. This means there will be lots of sidewalk sales, lots of pop-up tents and other good stuff going on. So encourage you to come down 1, 2, or all 3 days and enjoy that. In partnership, but down the road, the Albany Toy Run is doing their Christmas in July event. That's at Deluxe Brewery. And that'll be on Friday from 4 to 9 p.m. And a few of our businesses will continue the Crazy Day sales because quite a lot of them are open on Sunday, so you may find some activity then too. Excited to announce our Movies by Moonlight. It will be on Friday, August 1st, and it will be a fun event. So we invite you to bring your honey and act like a dancing queen when we show Mamma Mia. So the sing-along will start at 8:30 and the movie will start at dusk. There's probably be singing during the rest of the movie as well, considering what the title is. I also like to point out that earlier that day is the Craft Brew Smackdown. The Albany Downtown Association has taken the lead in that event now with Rotary, stepping back to the secondary role that we used to have. You'll still see the Rotarians involved, and they still receive a portion of the funds for all their good works. So we're excited to have TNT Builders back as the title sponsor, No Dinks and Grazing Oregon, Jessica Pankratz, Connected Real Estate, and Brian Orr Realty also as sponsors. Giving a Hoot is having a cleanup this Saturday, which is July 13th, and the Downtown Association is doing one at the same time, so we're teaming up to clean up the downtown. Invite anyone who would like to come join us from 8 to 11. We'll have treats, lots of water, and plenty of weeds to be pulled. So all the help we can get. The historic home tours are set for Saturday, July 27th. Check with the Albany Visitor Association on that. Our Meet the Neighbors feature this time is Kids Summer Fun, so lots of things kids can do downtown. Our Downtown Awards nominations are open and close on Monday, I believe. And our volunteer spotlight is on Beth Walker, who has been a strong supporter for so many years, I don't even know. So I want to thank everybody, and you can get copies of our newsletter online, and a particular shout out to Albany Parks and Recreation and all of the city. Congratulations on Monteith Park.
Thank you, Director. So does anyone in chambers like to speak during business from the public? Thank you. Oh, Nancy Greenwood? Oh, yeah, she's at the bottom. Sorry about that.
Mayor Johnson, I thought that Christian could speak after Rosa because he's up, if that's not possible.
No, so I thought they were together. That's why I had one of them speak.
That's okay, I'll give him my time.
Okay, that's fine.
Good evening. My name is Christian Galvez. I live in the city.
Okay, just no address, that's all.
Okay.
Okay.
I am the co-chair of a nonprofit here, Hispanic Advisory Committee, that my colleague Rosa just gave a message. But I want to share here my experience as a performer, a musician. I do that on my free time. I'm a full-time engineer on the other side. But since 2018, I've been performing in the Willamette Valley. I manage a music band, and I've worked for private entities as well as local community colleges. Our largest gig was Oregon State Fair in Salem. And I gotta say, every time I've performed, they ask me to sign a contract. And in the contract, the code of conduct is often specified. And typically, state or local organizations, they link their workplace policies to performers because as contractors, we're expected to be subjected to the same rules as city employees, right? And one of those being harassment-free environments and whatnot. So, of course, I've never worked for City of Albany, so I don't know what rules there are or what regulations or requirements are imposed. But as a community member, as an immigrant myself, I exhort city staff to review those procurement processes so that they make sure that they include clauses that require performers to adhere to harassment-free practices and establish penalties for breaking those. Including the dismissal and other things that I've seen commonly in contracts like that. So that is what I'm here to say.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I assumed that you two were together. That's why I thank you very much for that. Not who? Oh, Nancy, you can still speak. 3 minutes.
Mayor Johnson, council members, and staff, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm also a member of the HAC and support everything that Rosa and Christian have said. I want to start by saying how much I love and appreciate our city parks and the care and the planning that goes into them. I know the challenges, some of them that park staff have to face, and that just increases my appreciation. And there are no buts in that paragraph. Just thank you. And I know, and I hope that you do too, that Thursday night's comments about immigrants is a lie, and one that I assume that the speaker has learned from public figures that he respects. These days, there's so much that's beyond our control. We can't control the tenor of the national dialogue, would that we could, but there's still plenty that we can do, each of us. First and foremost is not to let such statements made in our presence go unchallenged, because each time that they're repeated without question, they take on the mantle of truth. For those of us who belong to minority groups, our group being cast as a threat to the community is all too often a part of our history, often with tragic results. And history teaches us that silence is the oxygen of hate. So I urge us to consider how we will respond when somebody speaks hatefully in our presence. If we haven't already, let's seek out tips on civil dialogue and positive bystander intervention, and let's practice so we're prepared if it happens to us. Hearing tonight's comments, I'll end by saying I really look forward to what we can do together with the city's leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Next on tonight's agenda is second reading of an ordinance, Legislative Article 6, Floodplain Amendments. Jennifer Sapella, page 5 through 39 of your packet. We just have to read it, right? That's all you have to do? Yep.
You probably need a motion to read the
So
the
can
ordinance
council
to
have a
know?
motion to read it?
It's a second reading.
Okay.
Second reading?
Move to read the ordinance a second time in title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Please read it.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 4441, which adopted the City of Albany Development Code by amending the Albany Comprehensive Plan and Development Code and adopting findings.
Council,
Move to adopt the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you, council. Thank you, attorney. Next on tonight's agenda is award of a contract. Award contract for AR 24-22 contingent upon grant submission and acceptance by Rob Romeo, pages 40 to 43 in your packet.
Good evening, councilors. Mayor Johnson. I'm here tonight to recommend you award a contract for the upgrades to the Albany lighting system that pilots use to guide their landing approach, which are known as PAPIs, as well as the taxiway edgeway lighting for the improvement upgrades. These upgrades will provide new equipment that will provide safety for the landing aircraft and planes using the taxiway at night. These projects are listed in the Albany Airport Master Plan. The low bidder for this project was Canute Electric of Roseburg for $843,192 and was the only bid that was received on this project. In addition, I'm requesting the council authorize by resolution attachment 2 submission of an application to the FAA and to accept federal funds to complete the project. The total cost of the project will be $1,176,292, which includes engineering and construction management services provided by our airport engineering consultant and will be funded primarily by a grant from the FAA. The process for the FAA-funded project is different from typical city grant process. The FAA requires the project to be put out to bid first, so they have a firm idea of the construction costs. Then they will send out a city grant agreement to sign, and we'll fund the project. So typically, the FAA grants will pay 90% of the total cost of the project, with the city responsible for the remaining 10%, which for this project would be $117,629. So at the February 14th, 2024 City Council meeting, the council adopted a resolution to accept funding from the Oregon Department of Aviation in the form of a core grant, and this will help pay for 90% of the required 10% match. So this means the city will be responsible for just 1% of this project, or $11,763. So the nearly $1.2 million project, this $11,763 will come out of the Airport Capital Fund. So tonight I'm recommending you award the contract to Canute Electric for the Pappy and Taxiway Lighting project for $843,192, and I'm recommending that you authorize the application and receipt on an FAA grant, this project, the amount of $1,058,663.
Council, any questions? Council, any questions? Please.
I really appreciate how you leverage the taxpayers' dollars to get that federal funding, and I think that's a great use of our money in order to, you know, get these improvements done. So thank you very much for doing that.
Bet. It's a lot of work, but
Yes.
it's a heck of a deal for a
11 grand,
$1.2 million project for
Yeah.
$11,000, so.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep, thank you.
So council, do we have a motion?
Do we have to, I have a question, procedural question. Do we have to approve 2 different resolutions here?
No, one was already approved for the grant.
Oh, okay. So I move that we approve, that we award the contract for AR 2422, install runway.
Second.
I have a motion and a second from Councilor McGee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Next on tonight's agenda, adoption of a consent calendar. Would the council like to talk about this? Anything you want to pull off?
Let's go ahead. We got that letter.
Well, one item, A3, is moot, but we can approve it just the way it's written.
Okay. All those in,
I move that we adopt the consent agenda with a revision of A3 moving to
resignation.
resignations.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you. Next, number 9, staff report, low income assistance program update. Chris Bailey, pages 64 and 65 of your packet. Director Bailey, how are you this evening?
Good, thank you.
You and Marilyn coordinated.
I know. It's
We
wild.
called ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, good evening, Mayor and councilors. I'm here to provide an update on the city's low-income assistance programs that the council requested earlier this year. There's a memo in your packet with detailed information, but I'm going to give a short summary for those who might be watching and not have the memo. So the city began a low-income assistance program in 2006 for residential drinking water customers. And at that time, to qualify, the bill had to be in the applicant's name. The household income needed to be 30% of MHI, state's medium household income or less, and either a senior or a disabled person. In 2008, the income requirement was loosened to 50% of MHI, and then in 2018, it was changed again to 70% of MHI, which allowed more people to qualify. The program is administered by Community Services Consortium, which is a local agency that also administers many other state and federal assistance programs. The city pays Community Services Consortium on a per applicant basis, and we average between $3,000 to $4,000 a year in administrative costs. In 2021, when the council adopted the city services fee, you also directed us to expand the low-income program to include the new fee. And as a result, a discount for qualifying customers was added to the city services fee of 50% off the monthly charge. And at that time, we reduced the qualifying income to 60% of median household income, which aligns it with other federal and state income thresholds, so it makes the administration of the program a little bit more straightforward. And out of concern that we might be eliminating some potential applicants, we dropped the requirement to be either a senior person or a disabled person. So the pool actually expanded. Let's see. The current program has not been modified since then. And so the current low-income program consists of 50% off the city services fee and a credit of up to 4 units of drinking water per month. Most of the participants in the program consume less than 4 units per month, so their entire consumption is credited. In 2021, also as part of the federal government's COVID-19 response, they created a temporary program to help with water utility payments that was modeled on the Federal Energy Assistance Program. The new water program was called Low Income Household Water Assistance, or LIWA, and it had the same qualification requirements as the city's program in terms of income threshold, but it offered more generous assistance. Under LIWA, qualified applicants could get help paying off their arrears or reconnecting their city service. The goal of the LIWA program was explicitly to keep citizens from losing water service, so it would either prevent the shutoff or reconnect them by paying directly to the utility. The LIWA program was also administered through Community Services Consortium. Those were one-time funds that were initially planned to end by December of 2023, but a small amount of additional funding was provided to the state, and so that program continued until March of this year. It was the end of this program, we believe, that prompted some complaints and concerns that the low-income assistance program had ended, that the council was hearing, which prompted this request for this update. That's not accurate. The city's program have continued as before, but this more generous LIWA program did stop. And there's currently no plan to fund that permanently from the federal government. So utility customers in Albany can apply for low-income assistance in any month, and if they qualify, then they start receiving assistance on their next available billing cycle. They are required to renew their application annually, mostly to re-verify their income, and applications open October of each year for the next calendar year. So with that, I'm happy to answer whatever questions you might have.
Council, any questions? Go ahead, Montague.
Just get clarity, there is no limit on how many people we are providing assistance for, right?
Right, yeah, that's
Anybody
correct.
that qualifies. Counselor McGee, you have anything?
I have a question.
Counselor
I don't, I'm sorry, I don't.
Oh, no worries. Counselor Smith?
We currently have 147 households
That is
taking
correct.
advantage of that. Wow.
Yes, it's very low. For reference, we have almost 20,000 water accounts in the city, so it's a very small percentage. The most that we've had that Community Services Consortium had records of was about 250 in any given year. And it's, if anybody has ideas of how to reach out and get more participation, we would love to hear them. We do try to put it out into the community, you know, various ways, bill stuffers and social media posts and everything. It's just difficult to get a whole lot of participation for whatever reason.
Okay. Thank you. Counselor Newton?
What are our current outreach efforts? Are we maybe putting something in like a water bill statement, like, hey, I noticed you're late or behind on your water bill. Do you need assistance?
We don't do individual bill stuffers like that. We don't really have the ability because it's sort of a mass mailing. We do mass bill stuffers. Usually, I think typically when we're in October, closer to the annual application period. And then we also ask Matt to, you know, re-up it on the city's webpage, put it out on the social media post. But we don't really have the ability to do targeted bill stuffers. But if someone, whenever anyone does contact utility billing, they do mention it as an option and direct them over to Community Services Consortium, where oftentimes they get assistance with multiple residential bills through Community Services Consortium.
And Republic Waste also added theirs too.
I do have a question, I'm sorry, this is Counselor McGee.
Okay, go ahead.
Is there a way that when they are like logged onto, I guess, the portal of some sort, that like it could be something that flashes about the program, or that they have to check that they've looked at it, another way of getting folks involved, or another way of advertising it?
That's a good idea. I'll check with IT and see if we can flash that, have a pop-up. They probably don't like pop-ups. There's probably a better thing.
Pop-ups are great.
That's a good idea. We'll talk with
Right,
IT.
because if you're late on your bill, it's gonna give you that nice little red something at the top, I'm guessing.
That's
or
right.
Whatever.
That's
So
right.
it would be nice if it's maybe not red, but like yellow, like kind of a green light, like did you know kind of thing, or
Sure.
just another way to give, you know, participation or at least awareness of it.
Yes.
So along that same lines, I was thinking, if somebody was past due, could we just automatically have a statement on the bill? You know, you have a statement already that says you are past due. Could there also be a blurb about if you need assistance with this bill, please contact blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Yeah, that's another good idea. We do have just sort of set formats for those different types of statements. So I'll see if we can add that on there. I'll talk with Patty.
I was just thinking just for the past dues.
Sure.
That way you can
Yeah, I mean,
target
it's
those folks.
it is its own
That
file,
triggered,
so.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's good.
Great ideas.
Thank
It's a
you, counselors.
brainstorming session.
Director,
Yes.
are you aware, is this program available to renters?
That's a good question.
The water bill has to be in the person's name. So in some instances, there are, like duplexes, typically there is a separate meter and the tenant pays the bill. Or if you're renting a home, if the water bill is in your name, then you can qualify. If you are part of a multifamily complex where you're not paying the water bill, then you're not going to qualify.
Thank you.
My understanding.
As a renter, I will say that I do pay for my water and sewer, and it does say my name on it. But it is in a complex, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's through like a different service. Like you actually have to go on, sign up in order to get it all in, like to sort of print out in your name. Otherwise, it
Mhm.
just looks like it's the complex itself.
Yeah, the requirement to have it in your name is mostly to make sure that the person, it was the person that has the qualifying income or previously the qualifying condition is the person paying the bill, not some other person that may or may not actually live there. So that's the requirement.
That it? That's all I need from us today?
That's it, just an update.
Thank
Yep.
you very much,
Thank you.
Director. Next on tonight's agenda is business from the council. I'll start with Councilor Kopczynski first.
Just touching base back on one of the original business from the public on Lee Greenwood and his comments. Are we going to try and develop any kind of a policy to address that in writing for a contract going forward?
City Manager, City Attorney.
Yeah, and Kim's coming up to talk a little bit about it, but it's a tough spot. I really appreciate the comments made by the Hispanic Affairs Committee members and Nancy Greenman as well. And but we do say that the views and comments expressed by artists and presenters do not necessarily reflect the mission and the values of the city. But then also I agree with Nancy that, if people hear objectionable or hateful speech, they need to address that. It was very interesting to hear Christian's comments about contract language that he has signed on to. So I took that away as something to take a look at. As you can appreciate, there are ramifications to doing certain things. And I will ask Kim to talk a little bit about, I think you have seen how we select the performers for River Rhythms. It's actually on the website. I'll ask Kim to address it in a little bit further.
Sure. So thanks for the opportunity. Always glad to speak in front of you. Don't really love it when this is the topic that we have to talk about. So yes, for River Rhythms, we work with a booking agent. It's a delicate balance as we give out dozens upon dozens of names that we dream about and that we think would create a really well-rounded season. And then we find out half of them are out of our price range, half of them won't travel to Oregon in that month, and maybe 3 of them fall within that area. And from there, we kind of finagle a little bit. At any point that we book somebody, we do mention in our contract that it is family-friendly. We can look at adding some additional language, working with Sean to make sure that we're upholding our First Amendment rights while still providing some additional guidance. I think on every year that I've been here, there's been at least a moment with at least one performer where you stop and you think, oh, I wish they didn't say that. This was a big one. And I know I chatted with Nancy and have passed along some additional information to other folks in our community who have expressed concern as well. So with all of this said, for our mainline acts, we can certainly look at adding some additional language that is appropriate outside of family friendly, as it's the world that we need to live in. It's the world that we live in these days, and we need to be a little bit more specific as to what that entails as far as our expectation. But with that said, we try to provide a really well-rounded series. But our booking is based on how much money we have, what people's routes look like, dates, and a little bit of magic that sometimes we luck out with and other times we don't. So I know that I've, in chatting with Human Relations Commission, which I am also the staff liaison for, and chatting with the HAC in the past, we've provided along our links for our Summer Sounds concert series, as well as our Northwest Art and Air Festival community stage, as we would love their help in spreading the word and getting additional acts that would represent our community involved. And so that's something that we continue to hopefully work with them on and build partnerships. So yes, we can certainly take a look at that.
Okay.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Director. Next is tonight's, is that all, Councilor?
I'm all done.
Councilor Newton?
Newton Azar, just to remind you.
Oh, sorry.
Right, so I have a quick question about, so I know the waterfront project was just opened up. I know there's still a few loose ends. I'm wondering if we have a status of Kara. It was.
Yeah, Kara's, well, Kara's in its sunset stage. It has to remain extant until the debt is paid off. What Sophie has to come back to the ARA board with is what, I would say leftover money, but what funds are remaining when you complete the project. So that's on her list of things to do. But Kara's still around for a long time to oversee that repayment of that debt.
Okay, and then just to circle back to the concert with Lee Greenwood, I was in the Redwoods with my family. I was not at the event. I'm curious, after the statement was made, was any action taken? Anything, what happened after those words were said?
Play his music.
So at that point, our staff were kind of running all over the place. It happened right before the last song and before the fireworks went off. So outside of several of us stopping and having our own moment, we didn't it continued on.
You know if it's possible, if either the city can issue an apology or make a statement? I think that would make a huge difference.
So I'm actually drafting a response to Penny. With the paper. Asked me to respond to her questions, so I'll be doing that. And I'll be working with Sean, make sure I'm sorry. So I'm actually going to respond to an email from Penny regarding the statement that was made by Mr. Greenwood. I received a text, probably 15 of them, within seconds of him saying that. When somebody like that, of that stature, and prominent, says something like that, it affects the community. And so, yeah, I'll be responding to that.
Okay, and then my last question, Kim, it's for you as well.
I'll hang out here.
Do you know when the bathrooms at the Monteith Park are locked or when they're not locked? I had someone ask me about a code to get into the restroom.
Oh, that's probably an opening glitch still. They should be open during park hours, so 6 a.m. till dusk. So I'll double check on that. It could be a programming error on our part.
Okay.
So thank you.
Absolutely. And then I had someone else follow up with a question about changing tables. I know we have the fold-down benches in the handicap accessible bathrooms. I'm wondering if we could have like a sign if we aren't putting in changing tables, but we could put in like, hey, this is a dual purpose bench, utilize it. Just so it communicates what it could be used for, because I think that people are used to seeing a changing table look a certain way and utilizing something that's dual purpose if we aren't going to be putting in standard. But yeah, just a thought.
No, we can certainly do that. I've learned a lot about public restroom building, and amenities that you take for granted, unfortunately, do not meet muster when it comes to the public. And so we try to be as anti-vandalism as possible. So yes, we can work on the messaging on that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And that's all I had for today.
Thank you.
Kim, you might just stay there.
I was going to say.
Council McGee?
I just have two things, and one was about the fireworks. And I think the person emailed everyone and then was forwarded to us. Just maybe having some, I don't know, additional language about fireworks. I don't know. This woman seemed extremely frustrated. And then the other thing about the comments, I just would like to say that the mayor and I were there earlier in the day. And I can tell you that just by the crowd of people that was there, and I don't know if they were all from Albany, I can't say that, but I can tell you right off the bat that it felt very anti-everything when I was there. I did not feel welcomed. It was the stares, the looks, it was really strange. And so it's really heartbreaking to hear that those comments were made. I invited several people to go down and see the fireworks. And I think some of the folks who had known or had heard of the group were like, yeah, we're not comfortable going down with that performer there, and did not. And so it's really sad that, the opening of the series and the park was soiled at the end. And it's just really, really heartbreaking. And perhaps maybe we need to hire Christian's group to come and do a little some, since he said he plays in a band. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe see who do we have in our own community who are musicians and things like that. Maybe keeping things a little in-house or somewhere, um, local talent, so that perhaps we're not dealing with issues such as this. That's all I have.
Thank you. Director, you want to make a comment?
Kim, you might talk about, once again, the problems of recruiting acts and how open we are to scheduling acts that do reflect the diversity of the community. But there's a dearth of those acts available.
No, I heard that, and I don't need her to expound on that. I can understand exactly what she said. My point is perhaps we need to recruit within the community itself. I had no idea that there are a lot of people in this community that are part of bands, national bands, local bands, what have you. I think it would be to our advantage to see what's in Albany. That's my point.
Okay. Isn't that reserved more for summer sounds? Yeah. The
At this-
Monday series.
With that said, as we move into a new budget season, if that's direction that council is interested in us taking, that we can certainly look at that. At this point, River Rhythms has kind of built its reputation on more national acts. With that said, national acts are getting more and more competitive and more expensive. So that's why we no longer have 7 concerts. We went to 5, and at one point we went to 4. So Summer Sounds has kind of filled the niche of Northwest and more local groups that we, but if that is something that council would like us to look into, we're certainly open to direction.
Thank you. Councilor Smith? Thank you, Dr. McGee.
I have a long list this evening, for which I apologize in advance. I'll just say one thing about the concert, the end of the concert. I think it's unfortunate that it's become acceptable to tell lies in public. It's not good to tell lies in private, but to broadcast them when they're proven to be wrong is wrong. It's bad in a big way. My list for this evening. I had a couple of emails, and you all received the first one, I believe, regarding illegal fireworks. We hear this every year. This person had a firework from some neighbor's home hit her house, did minor damage, but it was frightening. It's noisy. The fireworks, I've heard more about them from other people recently this afternoon. Fireworks that I was able to observe in my neighborhood lasted for 4 hours. They were pretty, but they weren't legal. And I will continue to get these complaints. The research I did, just casual research online, showed that there are 4 Oregon cities that prohibit fireworks: Portland, Milwaukee, Eugene, and Cannon Beach. I don't know how that's working out for them, but they do prohibit them. It's something to consider for the future. Just wanted to let people know that, yes, we are getting complaints. We continue to get complaints, and it's something that we probably should have a conversation about someday. The other, item number 2, related in a way, one of my constituents and many of his neighbors are having problems with people smoking outside their homes. They live across 21st Avenue from the Park Apartments and the other large apartment complex just east of there. The residents of the apartments who smoke come out on the sidewalk to do their smoking, either there or on the path along Periwinkle Creek. All of those locations are near private residences, and people are not, they don't feel comfortable in their yards. They can't go outside and play with their kids. They can't go outside and sit in the shade. The person I talked to this afternoon can't open windows or doors in his house, and They can smell smoke all the time. They've talked to some of the smokers, and they are unmoved by the plight of the neighbors. Chris Shandell did some extensive research based on this complaint into the Oregon Indoor Clean Air Act or the Smoke-Free Workplace Law, which is the same thing. The law applies, as we know here, because we had to put up all the signs when it was finally enacted, applies to public spaces and workplaces where the public has access. The law requires no smoking within 10 feet of a doorway, an exit, a window, or intake for air conditioning and heating. It does not apply to sidewalks. The Oregon Health Authority enforces that law, and their definition of public spaces are spaces open to the public that are enclosed. My constituent believes that that interpretation is up for interpretation, and to him, a public space is a public space, and smoking should not be allowed where it can infringe on other people's privacy and comfort and health. I said that I would bring this to the council. He may be here in the future with his neighbors. I don't know, and we talked about how do you enforce it, like how do you enforce illegal fireworks. It's one of those things that it's almost like dealing with vigilantes, I think. Oregon has also banned smoking in state parks, and there's a ban in Forest Service, federal forest lands. We do not ban smoking in our parks. That was a surprise to the constituent that I talked to this afternoon. They thought that should be banned in city parks, but no, it's not. I don't know if Oregon wants to become the first state that I would know of that would ban outdoor smoking, period. Do we want that to start in Albany? Do we want to make that an issue that we take to our legislative delegation to ask them to explore that? Do we want to ask the League of Oregon Cities about it? I don't know. I'm interested to know your thoughts, not necessarily this evening, but that's an issue that I have been addressing with some of my constituents. I'm going to contact Bobby Williams and Crystal Dufour regarding the landscape maintenance on Waverly. That sounds like an ideal hoot project. They've added different areas over time, and that would be one that would be limited, I imagine, to adults only because of the traffic. But I think about that all the time. I have a special median on Marion Street that Rick Barnett designated mine some years ago because it had weeds in it, and it's about the size of a bathtub. I don't take care of it, I admit that, but I should. Anyway, the Waverly thing, I think that's a really hard job to take care of because it's so long. But that might be a great thing for volunteers. It would be very visible to people driving by, and so I'll talk to Bobby and Crystal about that. One other thing I wanted to mention, I received an email on Saturday from one of the original CARA board members who was visiting Monteith Park with a former mayor and a friend and their dogs on Saturday morning. She says, "We traipsed around the new Monteith at 7 a.m. today. It's a stunning park. Congratulations to all. And we weren't alone. It's so beastly hot today that there were dozens of other people checking it out too. There was already a cleanup crew busy emptying trash containers and cleaning the loos. I bubbled my enthusiastic thanks to them for their efforts. It made one hardworking woman laugh. Don't let the curmudgeons tell you anything different. It's a wonderful improvement and will be a diamond in our downtown for years to come." Kim Sass. And I'm going to ask the city manager during your report if you have plans for the ODOT Roadshow on Tuesday at LBCC,
Okay.
the Joint Transportation Committee open
Right.
house, public hearing.
What do you mean by if we have plans?
Do we have a
Yeah, we have,
a
Councilor
coordinated
Montague
attack?
is going to be our representative.
Okay, thank you.
And we found out today that although attendance is very tightly controlled, that the mayor and Director Bailey can also attend as audience members, as observers. So it sounds like only Councilor Montague will be engaging in the conversation there.
There will be a contingent from North Albany there to talk about Highway 20 and the bridge.
Okay. Well, there's a public session in the evening
Yes.
from 5 to 7.
Yeah.
Councilor Montague's going to a roundtable discussion in the afternoon. And in the morning, Director Bailey's helping with a tour, a van tour, helping the legislators see projects in the area.
Thank you. I'm done.
That's what I was going to talk about. So just for the public, I encourage those who are able to join the roadshow. It's the Joint Transportation Committee tour and roadshow. So they are coming here to hear the public on July 16th from 5 to 7. Please, there will be a place at the, and it's at the Russell Tripp Performance Center in Lynn Benton Community College. There'll be a place to sign up for public comment as you enter the building. So please come and provide comments so that we can get a robust 2025 transportation package for all those in the audience. Okay, so moving on. First, I just want to thank those who spoke from Lynn Benton Hispanic Advisory Committee and from the NAACP. I have previously heard hate speech and lies and have stayed silent before. This is something I'm working on. I've even heard those things here on this dais, and I've stayed silent. And I'm working on that. So in that spirit of working on it, I would like to strongly condemn the hateful speech of Lee Greenwood. And I want to assure the public that this is not who we are. And that's all I have to say.
So I will start with Lee Greenwood. I received text messages as he was saying it. I was extremely concerned about him performing at the concert series in the first place because I've followed his work, and I looked him up when I found out he was going to be at our concert. I will be writing in response to the Democrat Herald, but freedom of speech is freedom of speech. We may not agree with it, but he has the right to say what he has to say, whether it's a lie or not. I don't feel that way. Our committee doesn't feel that way. And I was shocked when I left the park saying, how am I going to respond to this? And so I will be writing a statement, and you'll see that, and I'll run it by our attorney before I get it out there. And yeah, it was disappointing. It was disappointing. Next, Monteith Park. I was out there every morning or afternoon since the concert, and I saw parents, I saw grandparents, I saw dads and kids playing in the water. I watched a young lady figure out how to turn the water on, waving her hand over the sensor, the laughter. I have a picture of Rebecca Bond playing in the water today. That is such a wonderful, wonderful addition to the park. And you're right, the bathrooms. There was 2 that were open and 2 that weren't. And that was a concern because there was so many kids out there. So thank you for that. The fireworks, the illegal fireworks in my neighborhood, they were 2 blocks over. The person flies a drone around. They went on to 1 o'clock in the morning on the 4th. Then he started again at 11 o'clock, or up till 11 o'clock on Friday. And they also did them on Saturday. So it was quite annoying. But I know we don't have officers to come check every report, but we need to have a serious discussion about legal fireworks. There's a Albany car show this weekend at Bryant Park. It is a great car show. Last time I was there, over 170 cars, and it is a good time. Come out, bring your lawn chair, and look at some of the vintage cars, the custom cars. I get to select a winner for the Mayor's Choice, and the cars are absolutely amazing, and there's a big event out there at Bryant Park. Your kids would love it. Senator Wyden is going to be here Saturday for a town hall at LBCC at Russell Tripp, and not Russell Tripp, yeah, Russell Tripp. And I'll be emceeing that event. And before the actual town hall, there's going to be a elected meeting with the senator at like 9:45 or 9:30. So I'd love to have you join me. And then, and this weekend, upcoming weekend, next weekend, I'll be at the Oregon Mayor's Conference, and I'll be joined by Hadley Huzevka, the InfoWare Mayor Contest winner for high school, and her family for 3 days down at the conference. We'll be taking care of her. There'll be an award presentation for her and receiving of the scholarship of $500. I'm excited about that. So far, that's 2 years in a row we've had our young people representing the city of Albany win something at state level. And I interviewed a wonderful person for the Arts Commission, met her on accident, and she was awesome, a great artist, and so she should be applying tonight, and you'll get her application shortly. But other than that, turn over to the city manager.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and my apologies, Kim, I should have let you go sit down, but I was going to say something about the Waverly vegetation. And I just would like to remind all of us that this, just by virtue of the time of year we're in, this is a very, very busy time for parks maintenance people. Everything's growing really fast, and there's a lot of preps and a lot of cleanup to do. But it's exacerbated by the fact that there's a lot of camp cleanups that have to be done as well. And you have heard about the cleanups that have to be done down by the banks, apartments, and in other parts of the city. So in Kim's words, the parks maintenance staff find themselves chasing their tails a lot at this time of the year. I don't know if you want to add anything else, Kim, about workload, but please feel free if you.
Sure. So while the comments from the public were happening, I was sending an email saying, hey, here's some areas that might be overlooked. Please address those as quickly as we possibly can. With 33 parks and about 900 acres, there's a lot. And we've got an amazing crew of 8 plus 1 supervisor on our parks side, plus we work with contractors. So I've heard Rick tell this joke, well, not joke, that this was a great year if you were grass, as between the wet temperatures and the heat drop off, like it was real tall this year, and it went fast. And so every year our crew is out there trying to get caught up. Typically around this time of year, stuff starts slowing down a little bit, and so we get a little less shaggy and continue to look like what our goal is. And if we had additional staff, maybe we could work towards. With that said, yes, some of our issues with vandalism, general poor behavior, transient camps, they keep our crew far more busy than they used to. And so sometimes we're not able to focus on the things that are our core mission as we're trying to deal with other messes. But I'm very happy that Mr. Robinson brought that up, as it's something that you can sometimes become a little blind to, I guess. And so it's helpful to have that information, and we'll work on it.
So before you leave, Director, I want to say this to you with the bottom of my heart. Your staff did a wonderful job with the park, with the way they ran the event. And I know you've been getting beat up about the concert statements, but I was so proud of your staff and the way the concert went down. And I brag about your staff all the time, and there's so few of you, but it was a wonderful, well-done, executed concert.
Thank you. They're incredible. We're really lucky to have the people in the positions they are. So thank you for that. That means a lot.
So I think the next.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you so much for being here, and have a good evening.
Mr.
Did your
Mayor,
kids like the water park, the splash pad? There you go.
Just 2 more things. We will be hosting an ICMA fellow, a city county management senior fellow from the U.S. Army from Fort Eisenhower in Georgia, the week of the 22nd of July. Bill Hegedusich will be here for 5 days, and he'll come and attend a council meeting, and I'll introduce him. And the last thing I wanted to let you know is that our deputy city manager, Kayla Barber-Parada, will start on the 27th of July, which is a Monday and coming soon.
That's a work session, right, or no?
No, it's not. Not the 27th.
Okay, it's earlier. Yeah. No, we're not moving it. No, no, she wants us to move it. Okay, next on tonight's agenda, we're going to recess to executive session. We're going to recess to executive session and meet to discussing the evaluation of employee-related information, performance of the chief executive officer, employee, staff member, and/or accordance with ORS 192.660, subparagraph 2, subparagraph I. Representatives of the news media and designated staff and other persons shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other participants must exit. Online audience members will be moved into a waiting room. When the council returns to open session, staff will readmit those remaining in the waiting room to rejoin the meeting. In-person audience members must leave the council chambers and wait in the hallway. When the council returns to open session, staff will open the doors and you can rejoin the meeting. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report any of the deliberations during the executive session except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions will be made in the executive session. I'll now recess the executive session at 7:25 p.m. Motion?
I move that we increase city manager's compensation to 10% for deferred comp.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Thank you. Motion passes. So with that, thank you, Peter, for listening to us, and thank you, Director, for being there for us today. Next on tonight's agenda is, next meeting dates are July 22nd to 2024 at 4 p.m. for a work session, and Wednesday, July 24th at 2024 at 6 p.m.